Amidst the meandering fog of the city and the rain's relentless symphony, Philip Mercer's office stood, a warm beacon in the steel-gray world. Flickering under the weight of countless cigarette burn marks and drowning in the aroma of stale coffee, the place was steeped in decades of heartache, mystery, and truths untold. The office walls, plastered with fading memories of solved cases and unsolved mysteries, echoed with the whispers of Mercer's past. A soft, reluctant knock at the door, a rhythm alien to the monotonous tick-tock of the antique clock, pulled him from his reverie. In walked a figure shrouded in the scent of damp earth and barely concealed fear. Mrs. Ives, a frail woman with lined features etched in worry, bore news from Georgetown, Kentucky, her hometown. "Strange things, Mr. Mercer," she murmured, clutching her handbag, her knuckles white. "People aren't the same anymore, and it's all since that blasted hospital reopened." He listened, his stormy gaze softening with a familiar stir of empathy. Each word painted a chilling image, a town draped in uncanny silence. Its people turned strangers, the hospital standing ominously in the heart of it all. His mind wandered back to the faded picture on his desk, a relic from the past, a radiant woman with sapphire eyes. Emily, his late wife, his sweet Emily, whose life was claimed prematurely by a supposedly benign medical institution. The echoes of his loss still rang in his ears, the edges of his sorrow still sharp as a razor. "Strange things, Mr. Mercer." He glanced back at Mrs. Ives, his resolve solidifying. He took a long drag of his cigarette, the smoky tendrils curling around the lamplight, making shadows dance on his stoic face. "I believe you," he said, his voice a gravelly whisper in the musty air. "I'll take your case." As the door closed behind Mrs. Ives, leaving him in the silence of his thoughts, he stared at the Georgetown map sprawled on his desk. His past, intertwined with his present, had unveiled a path towards a destination unknown, yet familiarly unsettling. His heart was a tumultuous sea as he packed his belongings, old scars reopening, and the ghosts of his past standing as stark as the flickering lamplight. In the encroaching darkness of his office, his resolve grew. Ready to step into the bowels of Georgetown, he found himself standing on the precipice of an abyss. He was about to dive into a mystery that promised not just an enigma to solve, but a mirror reflecting his own torment. Leaning back in his worn-out chair, his fingers lightly traced the scarred surface of his desk, his gaze lost in the labyrinth of Georgetown streets. He knew this was just the beginning, the overture to a macabre symphony of cosmic horror. But as the rain began to fall harder against his windowpane, each droplet a drumbeat in the growing orchestra of the night, he steeled himself for the echoes of the unearthly whispers that lay ahead. The sun hung low in the sky, a sickly, jaundiced disk leering down at Mercer as he drove into Georgetown. It was a town untouched by the clawing grasp of modernity, its charm lying in the simplicity of brick-lined houses and timeless traditions. But beneath the quaint veneer lurked an unsettling stillness, a silence that weighed heavy, laden with secrets and hidden fears. As he strolled down Main Street, the air buzzed with a sense of quiet dread. Neatly trimmed hedges whispered tales of unseen horrors. Shuttered windows watched his every move, their glassy stare cold and unblinking. And above it all, the old hospital towered, its spires gnarled like arthritic fingers against the cobalt sky. His inquiries were met with a wall of ignorance. The townfolk's smiles were too tight, their laughter strained, their eyes averted, echoing the town's unsettling silence. But he was no stranger to guarded hearts. He saw the signs of a puppeteer's strings pulling at their words. "They've always been peculiar, the doctors," muttered old barkeep Tom, leaning closer, his voice a ragged whisper above the clink of bottles and low hum of patrons. His eyes darted around the room, the haunted look of a man who saw too much yet understood too little. Delving deeper, Mercer discovered an undercurrent of shared nightmares. The townsfolk talked in hushed voices about the hospital's eerily quiet halls, the echoing footsteps of faceless doctors, and the patients who walked in but never returned. Late into the night, while nursing a glass of bourbon at the edge of sleep, he encountered Lydia. A fragile wisp of a woman, Lydia was the daughter of a patient who had disappeared within the hospital's walls. Her words spun a tapestry of fear and disbelief. "It's as if they're not themselves anymore. The people. My father, she choked out, her eyes glossy with unshed tears. The conversation with Lydia cemented his suspicion. An insidious puppet master was at play, a dark cult pulling the strings from the shadows. As the revelation sank in, he felt the brush of something unexplainable, a shiver running down his spine. His gaze was drawn to the window, and there in the moonlit night, he saw a fleeting vision, a shadow twisting into a shape that defied logic, a brief glimpse into the impossible. Shaken, he retreated to his rented room, the musty wallpaper and creaky wooden floorboards his only company. The revelation, a daunting reminder of his mission, the whispers of a town lost in an insidious silence. The outline of the hospital was a constant dread in his dreams, a looming harbinger of the terrible unknown. As dawn broke over the town of silent screams, plagued with more questions than answers, he fortified himself for the heart of the mystery. With the echoes of Lydia's words in his ears and the vision of impossible shadows in his mind, he ventured forth, ready to confront the echo of the lost mind. Against the foreboding backdrop of the Georgetown Hospital, its grandeur as sinister as it was surreal, Mercer began to delve into the labyrinth of whispered nightmares. Each step into the imposing structure sent waves of cold trepidation rippling through him, an unwelcome specter in the sterile silence of the deserted halls. His footsteps echoed through the corridors, the scent of antiseptic and cold dread mingling in the stagnant air. He found rooms abandoned in haste, their emptiness whispering tales of suffering and bizarre rituals. Unsettling drawings of impossible geometries adorned the walls, their chaotic patterns a testament to minds unhinged, a scream of consciousness lost in the abyss of insanity. His investigations led him to Dr. Hawthorne, the hospital's chief physician, whose eyes reflected an abyss deeper than the mundane world allowed. Beneath the doctor's polished exterior, he sensed an unholy fervor, a twisted devotion to a power far beyond human comprehension. Reality, Mr. Mercer, is far more intricate than you can fathom, the doctor proclaimed, his voice an echo in the stark white office. His words reverberated in Mercer's mind, a cacophony of eerie enlightenment, unveiling a sinister plot nurtured in the heart of the hospital. It was the cult, he realized, an insidious congregation worshiping the mind-bending realities of cosmic horror, bending the will of the unsuspecting townsfolk. But the true horror unfolded when Hawthorne presented him with a terrifying vision. The walls of reality crumbled, revealing a spectacle that defied all known laws of physics and understanding. Shapes moved in ways that threatened to unhinge the mind. Colors not meant for human eyes danced in the void, and a pervasive sense of insignificance washed over Mercer. He stood on the edge of sanity, staring into the maw of an entity so unfathomably vast, so irrevocably alien, it threatened to devour his grasp on reality. Staggering back to his lodgings, he grappled with the chilling revelations. His heart echoed with the screams of the lost minds, their torment mirrored in the impossible vision Hawthorne had unveiled. The reality of Georgetown had been contorted, its sanity gnawed away by an entity from the outer rims of understanding. He glanced at his reflection in the cracked mirror, his face a ghostly echo of the man who had arrived in Georgetown. There was fear in his eyes, but it was matched by a determined flame. As the veil of night descended on the town, Philip Mercer, a solitary beacon of sanity amidst the encroaching madness, prepared himself for the final act in this macabre play. With a breath that tasted of resolve and fear, he stepped onto the path of unraveling. The dawn bore witness to a man standing at the crossroads of human understanding and unfathomable horror. Armed with his resolve and a courage born of desperation, he journeyed back into the heart of the Georgetown Hospital, a fortress of the surreal in the midst of the ordinary. Within the labyrinthine corridors of the hospital, he confronted the entity, an abyssal horror that twisted reality into grotesque mockery. Its form defied perception, a nightmare painted in shades unseen, its existence an aberration against the canvas of the cosmos. He felt the cold touch of fear, an alien dread that eclipsed the earthly horrors he had known. Yet amidst this terror, he discovered an unexpected weapon, his humanity, his kindness, his selflessness, His openness to understanding, qualities that had been his companions through his life, now became his shield. His mind, though trembling on the brink of madness, held strong, his heart echoing with the beats of resilience. In the face of the unimaginable, he drew upon his lifetime of experiences, weaving together clues that pointed towards the entity's vile scheme. He discovered the linchpin of its influence over the town, a vile nexus of eldritch symbols etched in the hospital's underbelly. His hands trembling, he destroyed the nexus, severing the entity's connection with Georgetown. The entity recoiled, its influence waning. Mercer felt the town breathe a sigh of relief, its pulse steadying after a prolonged nightmare. The hospital's cold sterility gave way to the mundane, the terrifying geometry of its hallways shifting back into comforting familiarity. But the victory came at a terrible price. As he stepped back onto the silent streets of Georgetown, he found himself a stranger in his own mind. He was scarred, changed irreversibly by the cosmic terror he had faced. The cheerful sunlight seemed a little less warm, the familiar contours of reality a bit more fragile, a chilling echo of the abyss he had peered into. Yet as the sun set, painting the sky in hues of dying day, he found solace in his triumph. He had navigated the labyrinth of cosmic horror, wrestled with forces beyond human comprehension, and prevailed. The knowledge of mankind's insignificance in the vast cosmic theater was a burdensome revelation, yet in its shadow, the spark of human spirit shone brighter. He left Georgetown as a man forever changed, his footsteps echoing in the twilight. His heart bore the scars of the encounter, his mind haunted by the echoes of the cosmic horror. But in the end, he had succeeded. He had confronted the unimaginable, stood his ground against the dark, and emerged from the abyss. And with that victory, he carried a piece of the cosmos within him, a humbling reminder of the vast tapestry of reality and the tiny yet resilient thread that was mankind. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, like it and subscribe to our channel, where you can find more similar stories, and click on the bell icon to never miss one. There is plenty more cosmic horror to come from the Eldritch Tales Factory. Stay tuned, and until next time.